Today, I want to talk about failure. Failure. What a funny word, and what an interesting concept that many people are kind of afraid of. And I used to be afraid of failure because I grew up in a culture, and I was raised in a culture of not wanting to fail. I didn't want to fail my parents. I didn't want to fail at being the best that I could be in terms of my piano playing, my musicality, my musicianship, all of those things. And it took me a while to understand the concept of how to actually be the best that you can be. You have to be okay with failure and making mistakes, because to truly challenge yourself, you have to be willing to crash and burn. You don't actually challenge yourself if you don't push beyond your capabilities sometimes and fail. If you're not willing to fail and fail hugely sometimes, you don't really succeed and push yourself to really excel in ways that you had no idea that you could. You end up playing it safe. And playing it safe never pushes your boundaries and never truly expands your capabilities, particularly as an artist. It wasn't until I started acting and became a filmmaker when I shot my first movie, and I just said, I don't care. I don't know anything about this, and it's okay not to know anything about this, and I'm just going out and doing this. I'm just learning, and it's totally fine to know absolutely nothing and fail royally and mess up and make all kinds of mistakes and be a total beginner. That I understood the concept of failure, where as it relates to learning and growing as an artist. And I really got the idea that failure is not a bad thing at all. Failure is actually a good thing because it helps you expand your boundaries as an artist and really push beyond what you thought you were capable of doing. And I mean, it's not that I never failed as a pianist. I did, but I was so embarrassed to do it. I mean, I was thrown into situations where I couldn't play as well as I wanted to, or I had to sight read and I didn't know the music, and I wasn't perfect at it, and I was like mortified that I wasn't perfect, and I learned that pushed me to be able to sight read, and now I can sight read things that people are like astounded I can do it. And that was like the first time, although it was a very hard lesson for me to learn, because I spent a year being mortified every time I played for this voice teacher. Once a week, and I just sat there for, I'd go to her house after school, and I'd sit there until 9 or 10 o'clock at night, and every hour on the hour a new student would come in with their music, and it was all new music to me, and I couldn't take it home and practice it and get good at it. And so I had to just sight read it, and I'd never heard some of this music before. I didn't know what it sounded like. I'd never seen it. I had to just play it, and I was terrible, and I was mortified. I was mortified that I wasn't really good. I wasn't perfect. I was making mistakes all over the place. And I literally was mortified every week for a year until I actually got pretty good at it. And it's, but it was a humbling and mortifying experience for me, and yet it taught me how to sight read. And it taught me a skill that to this day, you can pretty much put any piece of music in front of me and I can read it. And people are astounded. They are like, how can you do that? It's like, well, I learned the hard way, but I learned. And it was a mortifying experience, but there you go. But I learned through failure. I gained a skill. And it was only years later that I actually looked back on that experience and said, that wasn't a terrible experience. I mean, at the time I thought it was terrible, but it was really valuable. It was a very valuable experience for me. And I not only got over my fear of failure, but I gained something extremely valuable in the process. And I'm grateful for it now. I'm grateful for that year of total mortification. But at the time, I thought, I will never repeat this. I never want to go through this again. But of course, you live and learn. And now I welcome those mortifying experiences. I'm not so mortified by them anymore. I'm a little more mature, and I understand that making mistakes and failing is a part of life, and we just go, hey, didn't know. Okay, let's try that again. And off we go, and we try it again. It's, you do it every day. I think I'm failing, if you want to use that term. Every day I sit down and write and work on my script and write on my script, because who knows, I may live with the stuff that I write today, and I may a month or 6 weeks or 3 months from now look back at it and go, oh, that was not good, and completely rewrite it. Who knows? It doesn't matter, because at least I sat down and I wrote it today. I put it in the script. I got that much further along than I was yesterday, and I moved forward and I made progress.